Hey, Wings. Today I want to do a little recap. We just closed Q1 of 2022, and that means January, February, and March are behind us. And if you were following along and following in the Boost Life book and doing the focus of the weeks, I just wanted to recap all of that because I feel like we've covered some really great ground. And if you haven't, go back and do some of that, because as we go into April, really, as I'm planning all of this, I'm putting pieces together and stepping stones together so we can get to our event in 11/11. And I've got some great activities planned for then as well. But in January, we talked a lot about, it was the whole new you in 22 and really digging into you, really taking some time. So we talked about habits. We talked about empowering yourself and lifting yourself up. We talked about identifying your strengths and making sure you knew what they were and that you did a little bit of work there. We did a little exploration into that. And I think that's really important. That's where confidence comes from. We have to know what we're good at and do things that we're good at to build confidence and be proud of ourselves. So really important that we tap into that and we don't skip those steps, which I think sometimes we do. Controlling your social, that was a big one. Making sure that you are feeding yourself positive things. And since social is an algorithm, what you watch is what you get. And it's really, really important. If you're watching stuff that's negative and, you think is funny or whatever, that's the stuff that's going to be in your feed. But the opposite is true as well. If you're watching positive things or you're making sure that you're searching and seeking positive messages, those are the things that are going to be in your feed. So really important. There's a way to control it to some aspect. And then tapping into our aura. That one was a big one for me as I was, traveling through my 20s and 30s, trying to figure out how I show up in a room and making sure that I was showing up in a room the way that I wanted to. So that's really a big one. And it takes a little bit of exploration and time. And then maybe some seeking of some of your peers that you trust and figuring out, hey, what do I bring to the room? And really listening to what they have to say. It's an important one. In February, we talked about decluttering. That was a big, big one. I still have work to do with this. So much work to do, but it was a good starting point. Decluttering the mind, the body, and your surroundings. I look around my room right now. I've got so much stuff here. I still have some work to do, but I did some real work in my kitchen to make meal prep and all of that easier. And if you look at what I did or saw any of my posts from this last month in March, I was doing so much more in my kitchen because it was just more joyful, I think, to be in there. And I had removed a lot of the clutter that was there. So really interesting how that leads to better habits and better things around you. So again, still work to do, but decluttering was a big one. And I probably should go back and watch those videos as well. And then in March, it's really finding out what makes you bloom. As we look to March and rebirth, I always feel that in the beginning of spring fever in March. And what are the things that make you bloom? Tapping into those, what makes you feel alive, not just ignoring those things. We get so caught up in doing so much for others that we don't turn that around and say, what makes me tick? And, what brings that butterfly feeling to me? So really making sure that we're, giving that time and taking some time. For me, it's journaling, really tapping into some of those things around me and doing that self-exploration. I cannot, emphasize enough how much journaling can just bring you peace. Getting some of the stuff out that you don't want inside you, exploring some things that you've been feeling. It really does give you an opportunity to sort of write things out and look at them in a different way, get a better perspective once it's out, and ease your soul, ease it on out of your body. And then we talked about making time to reconnect. I know I have been doing that. I really have. I actually have lunch plans today with an amazing woman in my life that I've run out of touch with just because that life happens, right? And I'm so excited to see her and making that time to reconnect with people we haven't seen. That really means something in your life. It's so, so, so important. We talked about finding the comfort zone. Some of us are like, how do I get out of my comfort zone if I don't even know what my comfort zone is? So I really wanted us to sit and explore what makes you comfortable. You know, what are the things that do bring that peaceful feeling and is your comfort zone? So when we talk about stepping out of your comfort zone or getting out into, you know, these other areas of stretching ourselves, we have to have that baseline. We have to have that benchmark in that comfort zone. So figuring out what that is and really finding that. And then through reading the Daily Stoic, I came upon making a plan, which actually made me laugh out loud a little bit. I'm not going to lie, because I'm a planner, but I'm not. I plan and plan and plan, but I don't. So it's really this weird thing of like, yes, I consider myself this strong planner, but I was realizing that I hadn't put some of the work together to really outline what I want from the companies that I'm running, from the life that I'm living. You know, again, we don't always do that work of figuring out and making that plan of what we want to do. Travel is a big part of that. 2020 definitely showed me that. I traveled a lot for work, but I didn't travel a lot for social and for my own personal. And those times together with my family are hands down the ones that we all remember. And so making more time for that and being purposeful in that and making a plan, super important. And then, you know, using all those obstacles. So that one was a big one for me. I think sometimes it's hard to conceptualize what this one is. But you have a plan, you have a goal, and then you put a plan together. But the plan really has to include the obstacles that you already know. Because the minute you put that goal out there, the minute you talk about what that goal is, somehow your mind just brings in all these obstacles. And it's almost like you're talking yourself out of actually going and achieving that goal. And the challenge, or the most amazing part that I found, is if you take time to write those obstacles down, they actually can be turned into the stepping stones, because you have to overcome all the obstacles to get to the goal. And it's a really neat trick to be able to figure out, okay, here's all the obstacles. Man, those came to you like within minutes. And then here's my steps. And by taking it one at a time, you're actually able to conquer that obstacle, get over it, and go to the next level. So that was Q1. That's a lot. There's a lot there. I know I still have work to do with some of it. There's a lot of journaling that's involved, but I am making, headway on all of it. And I feel really good about where I'm heading as I go to 11/11, which is my ultimate goal, is to have this amazing conference for us again. So always pushing myself towards those bigger things. Conferences are not easy to put on. It was not easy to do last year. I learned a tremendous amount last year. I'm also working on the Boost Life book. So I've got a lot of big things that I'm working on. And how do I do all of those? Those are like my passion projects. How do I do all of that while I'm running 2 companies and a household and, have kids and all of that? So it becomes overwhelming sometimes, but I think if we keep breaking it down, keep doing this work, and keep pushing, I think it really, but also this is my whole thing about the Boost Life book last year. I say keep pushing, but on the flip side of that, I'm also giving myself grace. I'm also making time for myself. I spent a lot of time on the river last year. I'm looking forward to this summer and doing the same thing. Finding time to kayak, finding time to go for my walks in the woods and just being out in nature. So important to not just, race back into the hustle and just be hustling all the time. Really important to set myself up for success, but also set some time for me. And I think I've really gotten better at that in this last 2 years. So that's what I have for today. I hope that you guys are following along and feeling like you're getting something out of this. I think it's good stepping stones for where we're going to be on 11/11. I cannot wait. It's my favorite day. It's my favorite day of the year. Last year was absolutely amazing, and we're definitely going to top it this year. So thanks so much. Have a great, great week, and I'll talk to you next week.